Welcome to New England Soccer Journal's The Goal Podcast, the podcast for serious soccer players and their supporters to help further their development and navigate their way throughout their soccer careers.
Welcome into another edition of New England Soccer Journal's The Goal Podcast, and we have a very special episode coming today. I'm Matt Doherty, and beside me I have our two prep soccer experts, Matt Langone and Mike Z, on the eve of the season. Gentlemen, how you doing?
I couldn't help but see Mike laugh when you called us experts.
You guys are experts.
It's not the word I would have used.
But
We'll do our best.
We have a really fun episode today. We're going to be breaking down the prep season on both the boys and girls sides and getting into teams to watch, players to watch, maybe some preseason predictions, all that good stuff. And these two have worked hard the last month talking to coaches, compiling watch lists, preseason polls, and all that. So check that out on our website, but let's do it in some oral words as well. Mike Z, I want to start with you, and we can do some girls stuff. Start with Class A. Just give me a quick little primer heading into the season. First thing that comes to mind when you hear NEPSAC Girls Class A, what do you think? What are you looking forward to and thinking of?
Excellent, good place to start. Yeah, and first, just a shout out to all the coaches who have been great with their feedback going back to late July, even when they're in the middle of summer vacations, answering our questionnaires, giving insight about their programs, other programs, getting on the phone with me. Probably from the beach or whatever, and realizing the season's not that far away. So, shout out to them. It's something I look forward to every year. Reconnecting with them and getting ready to tee up the season. But I was in the Siemens Media archives this weekend. Just doing a little research, and this is going to be my 5th year covering girls prep soccer for Siemens Media. So very, very excited. And that kind of coincided with girls prep soccer coming back from the missed year of the pandemic. So we have 4 seasons in the past that I've had a firsthand view to see, and and we have some firsthand results to look at. And that's where my top 10 for Class A starts. It's with these 5 teams that are just about locks each year to make the 8-team postseason tournament. These 5 teams have made it all 4 years, since we've been back, 2021, 22, 23, and 24. So I think any talk about which teams should be in our preseason rankings, which teams have an inside track to, potential glory in November starts with these 5.
You have to say the 5 now.
Yep. Okay.
Let me hear. Well, let's start with 5. Or do you want to go in? Is it in order or?
No, I'm just gonna. Well, here it's just. For more rich. These are the 5 teams that I feel pretty good about saying are going to be part of the field because they have every year. So in no particular order, just maybe my order. You got Buckingham, Brown, and Nichols, which everyone regards as the team to beat in the ISL and often beyond that. Defending Class A champion Worcester Academy has been to the postseason every year, and I expect them to be there again. Loomis Chaffee, my pick this year in the Founders League. They got some really dynamic players. They've been a contender in their league. They've been a contender in Class A. Could this be the year that they make the breakthrough? Perhaps. Choate, another team that has had great success in the Founders League and gone to the postseason, just hasn't quite gotten over that semifinal hurdle. Could this be the year? And the 5th team that's been a part of this for each of the last 4 years is Miss Porters, the runner-up to Worcester last year. They played that terrific, tactically engaging 1-0 game out in Lancaster, Mass. So those 5 teams, I guess that's my first window into the season. You try to predict the tournament field. These 5 have been there all 4 years previously, and I expect them to be there again.
Nice. So you mentioned Loomis is your pick to win the Founders.
Founders it's a great league to follow because there's just so many heavyweight battles throughout the course of the season, and whoever wins those battles is typically sets themselves up for the league title and the highest possible seed that they can get. 6 of the last 8 years, it's been Miss Porters, winning the Founders League. That's their reason for being. They love doing that. I think Loomis on paper this year might have a little bit more to go. They got 2 dynamic players right off the bat. Junior midfielder Brenna Gogorski going to Colorado. She's the engine in the middle of that pitch, and then you have Tennessee Murphy, senior forward, going to Bucknell. And all she does is wherever she's been is score goals. Whether she was in Western Mass at Munson High School, a town away from where I grew up, and now at Loomis, she's a player opposing defenses are really going to have to watch. this season. You throw in some solid midfielders, some good backs, and this is a team that might have the ingredients to do something special this year.
Mike, I'm curious. With in the Founders League, I mean, we're talking more about the Founders right now than the ISL, but do you feel like there's a lot of recruiting battles going on within those schools? I mean, a lot of these schools are kind of within close proximity to each other, probably looking at the same type of players when they bring in. We always do kind of stories in April about some newcomers entering these programs. What tactics do any of them use, do you feel like, to differentiate from others? I mean, have you talked to coaches about any of that stuff at all?
I'm sure there's recruiting, quote, battles as there are, in every prep school sport. But you look at the makeups of the rosters, and that's where you get kind of a sense of the differences. A team like Choate seems to cast a wider net. They have a striker coming in from Canada this year who, they're hoping can replace last year's leading scorer, Mia Brady. They tend to get some players from all over. Miss Porter's is largely a Connecticut roster, and I think Westminster you'd put in that category too. So there's different ways of doing it. I don't think coaches have ever used the word battles. I know you want to attract the best players and students you can get. But when you do see the final rosters before the season starts, you do note some differences.
You're right. I don't think they'd ever use the word battle. The prep school coaches might be, of all, the coaches that we cover are, I don't want this to come out wrong about them, but they're super respectful of their peers, where it's always never
they'd use battles before I use experts.
Exactly. but
you guys are experts. Stop.
They're not going to use that. They're not going to use that word because they're not combative like that. So I feel like they would just. They'd almost,
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
A little more genteel.
Exactly.
In the prep space.
There you go.
So you have BB&N number one in your preseason poll?
I have BB&N. I don't have them as a clear cut number one, and for what it's worth, there hasn't been a game played yet, and I'm not sure who's putting stock into anything I say, but
everybody, Mike.
Yeah,
everybody.
They've every year they're right up at the top of the league. They score a ton of goals. They are so dangerous offensively. Last year they shared the ISL title with Nobles. Was it with Nobles? Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it was Nobles.
I believe it was. So they shared it. And they went into the tournament as, I believe, a number 4 seed, which is a little lower. They'd been the top seed in previous years. And they ran into Worcester Academy, which they've had some great battles with over the years. But I like it. Haley Katkowski's in her 3rd year as coach. Addie Kalaw, senior forward, going to BC, was the leading scorer in the ISL last year. Hope McMillan, senior midfielder, going to Yale, was the leading assister. She set up 15 goals, last season for BB&N. So there's your foundation. Other good players. They always have a very deep roster. Track record, offensive potential. There's a handful of teams that could have had this number 1 spot, but I'm leaning toward BB&N.
Yeah. So you mentioned you had BB&N, Loomis. Loomis is your pick to win the Founders at BB&N. You mentioned the other schools. Give me a couple other teams that are on your radar that maybe aren't in those top 5 locks that you say for the tournament, but teams that might surprise this fall, teams that maybe are off the radar a little bit that you're high on, that you expect good seasons from. Give us a couple dark horse contenders in Class A.
I don't know if I'd call them quite a dark horse, but a team I think is really intriguing is Phillips Andover, and they check in at number 5 in our preseason rankings. They had a terrific season last year, ended a playoff drought, got into the tournament, it graduated. Some very talented players, but they have some good players back. Wiley Rusian, striker, going to North Carolina, very good player. You know that name.
Yeah.
And Keegan Murphy is a junior center back going to Dartmouth, and maybe one of the most interesting players is Ashley Dimnaku, a sophomore, midfielder, versatile. Coach Lisa Joel loves her, can play her anywhere. We'll probably slot her in at center mid, and I think it's a team that really has the potential to not just make the tournament again, but do some damage there. I'll keep going here. No stop sign,
don't
right?
Stop.
Please don't
Go.
stop. I wasn't going to say anything.
Go until you run out of gas.
I'm going. So the 5 teams I mentioned are obviously you got to give Worcester a mention. They were a team that won it all last year in Class A. Could have easily been a preseason number 1. I think the injury to Lily Bierfeld, the season-ending ACL, right?
Yeah.
Was it? That's a tough one. I saw her play in the title game last year, and she's just attacking mid, just an excellent player. That's certainly going to be a loss. But there's a lot of good players on that roster. There always are a lot of good players on that roster. Some newcomers that could make an impact. So I've got them at number 2, just a shade off of number 1. Loomis 3, Choate at 4 is another team that's there every year. They find a way to win games. Can they win that semifinal game in November? That's the big question. I like Andover. I like Porter's. Avi Dubnoff did a great job of coaching. They did graduate probably half of their starters from the team that reached the championship game, and they did suffer a season-ending injury to Satya Gupta, the center midfielder. So that's going to be a loss. So they're not quite the same team that they were a year ago, but they tend to develop really well as seasons go on. And so maybe a team that's a little under the radar here in early September is a team that we're going to be talking about a lot in November.
What about Class B, Mike? I mean, I know there's probably some usual suspects within Class B. Pingree and Dexter Southfield are the two that come to mind. They've kind of been at the top over the last few years. You expect more of the same in Class B?
Pingree and Dexter Southfield have met in the finals each of the last 2 years in Class B, each taking one. Pingree 2 years ago, Dexter last year, they had an excellent team, and they're probably going to have another superb team. So I think those teams will be there. And the other team I will toss into that mix is Tabor. Which a Class A team for years, but they've been competing in Class B now for a bit, and they've just got there's just experienced players all over the field. They won a lot of games last year, Class B semifinals, I believe, without having that in front of me. So I think when you look at contenders or challengers to BB&N in the ISL, little alphabet soup there. We got you got definitely Tabor, and you got Nobles, and you can go deeper than that. And maybe as the show goes on, we will get deeper than that. But those three are the ones I like at the top of B right now: Dexter, Pingree, Tabor.
You and I did compiled a bunch of watch lists heading into the season. Those are available on our website. But a lot of it is, we saw a lot of games last year. We've talked to a lot of coaches. Are there a few players that you feel like could be electric this fall and could be? I mean, I know the NEPSAC is crazy rich with talent, and there's players all over everywhere and commits everywhere. But are there a few names that you feel like could be poised for huge falls?
Yeah, it's tough to narrow it down to just a few names. And like you said, soccerjournal.com, we've been posting these watch lists, throughout the month of August. So there's a big collection there. It's really tough. I mean, I mentioned Tennessee Murphy. I like watching her play. The girls from BB&N are something. Sage Chisholm is a striker from Miss Porter's, who more than one coach has really mentioned as someone you really need to keep.
Yeah, she stuck out during the club season.
Yeah.
You've seen her. She committed to Miami the other day.
Yeah. So I would put her on that list. And frankly, I mean, there's so many names you can throw out there, in terms of just narrowing it down to. A few. There's going to be standout players that try to carry their team, and there's also going to be teams that have their standouts, but also have the supporting cast that others don't. And sometimes it's not just the the star striker or the great senior goalie. It's the 12th or 13th player down the roster who comes off the bench and produces a quality 20 minutes to get your team across the line in some games. So that's the things we look forward to seeing play out as the season goes on.
Yeah, I'm curious, kind of for both of you, right? Like I've covered the high school scene, like MIA, for a while in my soccer career, so I haven't done as NEPSAC coverage as much. I'm curious, like in MIA, there's always a couple teams who kind of pop out of nowhere, like teams that aren't on your radar at the beginning of the season, and then all of a sudden they go 15-3 and make the quarterfinals. Like we always have just a couple of teams who you don't expect heading into the season. Does that happen in NEPSAC soccer, like especially in Class A and Class B, where a team that you might not a traditional power that has this really strong season? Does that happen? And if so, like, is there anyone that comes to mind when I say that?
I've never ever been surprised by any team. No.
Well, you are experts, so I know maybe that was.
There's definitely teams. I mean, there's teams that. I haven't even mentioned on the girls' side. Milton Academy, another one from the ISL's got some really good players back from a team that did make the tournament last year. So it's really, it's kind of like stages to the season, Matt, and you know this.
Right.
I mean, we're excited because we have openers right around the corner, and we can't wait. And some of these, early season matchups are really good ones. So it's then that, who gets through the first couple weeks unscathed, who surprising wins, surprising losses, and then we're thinking about midseason reports and, and which team. So it does take some time to play out, but yeah, there's always going to be.
There's going to be some teams there.
Teams that either, haven't been on your radar or teams with coaches that did not reply in timely fashion to your coach's questionnaire. And stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
I'll say this
I guess
too.
my other point is like someone on the rise, like a program that's kind of been building the last few years that could take that next step too.
Those exist. I would say, I would offer up this. A lot of times in Class A, especially, it's kind of the familiar names and the powers, the perennial powers. I think Class B lends itself more to maybe some teams to break through. But on the boys' side, since the lost COVID season 2020, we haven't had a repeat champion in Class A or Class B. I mean, it's been different winners each year in both classes on the boys' side. So you may think you know who the strongest team is coming into the season. We'll pat it on the back. Last year, we knew it was Taft. We got that.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, we knew it was Worcester Academy. We've been pretty. So maybe we are experts. We've been pretty good at it. But you know who's got a shot to be there at the end. But there's so much talent. Yeah, it's hard. I don't know that there's like it's hard to expect a team like what happened in MIA last year with the 32 seed winning that stuff's isolated to high school soccer. Okay. You're not going to see much of that.
No, I'm just curious.
And the other thing to mention too is that, I mean, when you look at these great teams, and again, not taking anything away from schools that compete under the Class C or Class D umbrella, there will be coverage as we go forward. It's just that the A and B teams I think are more familiar to us, and as we go forward we'll do more. But when these teams play each other, whether it's in the regular season or into the tournament, the margins between victory and defeat are so small,
right? Because
these teams are so well coached. These players, they obviously play outside of school. Matt, you've seen a ton of them.
Yeah.
So they know what to do. They know how to play tactically within a system. There's good scouting of their opponents. So that's why you see games that are so tight. You see 1-0, 2-1 all the time, and sometimes it's not the the quote better team that gets through. It's the team that scores the timely goal and at the perfect time. So that's one thing that I think that makes these tough. It makes it tough to pick a champion. Cheers to you, Matt Langone. But it's not easy. It's not easy.
It's not.
I think following the knapsack from afar too, like the depth of the leagues are just so astounding. Like your Miss Porters is 7th in your preseason poll, and they have these high-end Division I commits, and it's like that's just crazy. That the depth of the talent in the league, the depth of these teams. We're gonna shift to boys in a sec, Mike. I want to ask you one more question, sort of about some matchups in the first couple weeks of the season that you're looking forward to? Do we have some good ones on tap?
I'm sure there are. I just don't have a schedule in front of me.
Okay.
You know what? It's.
I was just curious.
It's just that you look at the leagues that we cover with the Founders League. Anytime you're going to see a Miss Porters play a Choate or a Westminster play a Loomis Chaffee or a Taft play a Hotchkiss. Those are games that they're good games, and they're really they start building the whole narrative of the league season. And then in the ISL, you got BB&N. It's lost one game in the league last year, but still it can be a gauntlet. I mean, having to play Tabor, having to play Governors, having to play Brooks and Milton and Nobles and Thayer, which I haven't even mentioned. That's another good team. So not a week will go by that there will not be a really tasty girls prep soccer matchup, and I'm sure it's the same on the boys' side.
Oh yeah, it's iron versus iron every week. I mean, if you look at everyone's schedule, like you'll look at Berkshire. Oh man, they're playing another Class A power this week. Loomis, their schedule's loaded. Suffield, a Class B team, playing powerhouse Class A teams. It never stops, because these schools all kind of abide by the same rule. Like, we need to play the best teams we can to prepare ourselves for mid-November. So they all load up the schedules as best they can.
I love that. There's the showcase too, right?
In Albany, which I'll be at in just a few weeks, actually. That's September 20th that weekend, so that's coming up. That's a great one, too.
A lot of teams involved in that on the boys' side?
Yeah. That probably, I'm awaiting the final schedule, but last few years we've had, I think, 20 to 25 of our teams over there, so it's a great showcase for anyone who wants to see a day of phenomenal soccer. Sunday's kind of the marquee day out there, but it's awesome.
And you'll get a matchup like a Taft against a Loomis.
Oh, yeah. Like for instance, one I know of is Woodstock Academy, which is not an EPSAC program anymore, coached by Owen Finberg, who used to be the highly successful South Kent coach. They're going to play Loomis, which is a phenomenal, Connecticut prep matchup there. It's kind of things like that. I know Milton traditionally plays Berkshire out there, so there's some traditional matchups that happen out there as well.
Yeah. So, all right, Matt Langone, you've hit two straight knapsack champions. I'm not going to ask who your champion is just yet, but who's leading your preseason poll for the Knapsack boys?
You know, I come in to this, I was torn about picking a number one this year. I went with Taft as my number one, the defending champs. I think Taft is going to be exceptional this year. But the team that I'm really looking at coming in is Berkshire. Just the amount of talent. They have a new coach we've had on the podcast, Kelvin Martinez, who's a Northwood School guy. Comes over to Berkshire. There's a ton of talent. There are already 4 Division I commits on that Berkshire program right now, and there's probably going to be more. They just come in on paper looking like the strongest team. But Taft, when you really look at Taft, I mean, they lost the Gatorade Player of the Year in Preston Alessio, who's now at UConn, who was the Class A Player of the Year. But defensively, they're loaded. They have Marco Santana back as a center back, who is maybe the best center back in New England. They have Vincent Levasseur, who just committed to UC Irvine on that back line. Both of their goalkeepers are back after splitting time last year. They picked up a PG player in Will Murray, who's a midfielder committed to Holy Cross. So they're still loaded. So Taft, I think based on what it accomplished last year, what it has back, I think it earns the right to be the number one team coming into the season. So that's why I'm with Taft. But Berkshire's right there on the heels in that number 2 spot. Rounding out the top 5, we got Loomis Chafee third in our preseason top 5. Then Milton. It's funny, Milton has had the last 3 Massachusetts Gatorade Players of the Year, which is incredible. I was talking to Chris Kane a couple weeks back, and he was even laughing. He was like, I can't remember any program having 3 straight Gatorade players, especially, they don't take PGs. These are legit high school players winning, Gatorade Player of the Year 3 straight years, which is remarkable. They lost a lot to graduation, but they still have a lot back, and you just know a Milton team.
They're good every year.
Coached by Chris Kane. They're going to be there.
Like you were saying on the girls side, those programs, they're just good every year.
They're just there every year.
Despite their roster turnover.
They went runner-up, champion, runner-up in the last 3 years. So I mean, they're gonna be there. And then my 5th team in the preseason is Northfield Mount Herman. That appears to be really strong again. They have a player, Jeremy Casongo, a senior forward, class 26 forward, who their coach, Charlie Malcolm, calls a top 3 player in the knapsack. That's when you make that claim in the preseason, that's a heavy claim to say top 3 player coming in. You're saying that in August. He was a very good player last year, but there's a lot of talent. So that makes me think he's made an enormous leap in his progression. So NMH is another team I'm keeping an eye on.
So your top 5 all Class A?
All Class A.
Okay, so the Class A tournament's going to be fun.
Yeah, but with that said, Suffield's just outside at number 6. You could probably make a case that you could put Suffield, the Class B champ, in that top 5. They're loaded. Ricky Warren, their head coach, loves what he has. He's got a couple of club players that you know very well, Michael Adu Giamfi and Gavin Bear. Yeah, both are going to Big Ten programs, Indiana and Northwestern. So it's a pretty good way to start with those 2 guys coming off a great club season for IFA. So Suffield's right there. Ricky would probably... might think I probably should have put him in the top 5 maybe, but I got him at 6. They're like, it's August. Now it's September. We made these projections in August in our magazine. But Suffield could easily climb up, and their schedule's loaded. They're going to be tested early and often.
So they're the reigning Class B champs.
Yes. And did it in dominant fashion, too. They won the championship game 8-0 last year. I mean, there was no debate of who them. Yeah.
And who else in Class B are you? Like you mentioned those Class A teams. You have Suffield in Class B. Like who else are the challengers, contenders in Class B? Class
B is going to be interesting. I think St. George's, another ISL team, is a team that people have looked to that could make a leap. They get a great player in Nicholas Alberja, a midfielder, kind of a big-time playmaker in the ISL. St. George's, since Shea Quinton has taken over that program, they've kind of taken a few steps every year. Last year they won 13 games. They got to the Class B semifinal, lost to Suffield. I expect them to be there again. An interesting thing to keep an eye on is Vermont Academy, which has won the last 2 Class C championships. They've moved up to Class B this year. So there's been a little bit of movement within the... it's funny, I can't get a straight answer right now about what the final movements were with Class A and Class B. I do know some teams have moved, but there's a coaches meeting coming up, I think, later.
Guarded secret. Huh?
Guarded secret. Later this week, I've talked to people on the board. They won't give me the straight answer. I do know for a fact that Vermont Academy moved up to Class B. Their coach told me so. So that's interesting. They have a lot of talent. Lakes Region program, been really good in Class C. They're up to B. They could make some noise. I think they could come in there and be, a top 4 seed in the Class B playoffs. And are they good enough to beat Suffield? I don't know. Are they good enough to beat St. George's? I don't know. Brooks has been a Class B team that's made some noise. Middlesex has. last year, Mount St. Charles did some things in Class B, so maybe they make another step this year. So Class B is interesting. I think I mentioned earlier that's the one where you can see some movement, see some teams that kind of come out of nowhere that maybe you didn't expect.
Yeah. Who did Suffield beat in the final last year?
Williston, Northampton.
Okay.
Kind of a surprise that Williston got there. I don't know that anyone was thinking they were going to be. They've been perennially good as well. They lost to Brooks in the championship a few years back, so they've gotten there. They kind of caught lightning in a bottle last year, though, in the playoffs and got there, but they were overmatched by Suffield.
Just hearing you guys talk, I mean, obviously the regular season is great, but like the tournament just feels so exciting, right? You have like
it's a mad dash.
It's 3 games, right? So
3 games in 5 days.
Yeah, like, that's awesome, and it just seems so intense. And you get the home game, the quarterfinal is the higher seed host.
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Okay.
They'll host right up until the final. The final will be at a neutral
And the
site.
finals at a neutral site. Like that sounds so fun.
It's awesome.
And
I mean,
the teams that you're saying, it's like, oh my, like that's a quarterfinal matchup. Just seems like so intense and high stakes, and these great teams playing against each other. Like I know we have to get the season hasn't even started yet, but
no,
I can't help but look ahead.
You make a great point, and you talk about the 3 games in 5 days, and it's actually the tournament actually starts a few days before that Wednesday when the brackets come out. Right. That's like a holiday for you and I.
Mike and I are sitting by the computer waiting.
And you're just looking at the matchups, and there's always going to be one intra-league, from the same league.
Works,
And it's often from the Founders League, or it could be from the ISL, where you're going to have 2 teams that know each other well and hate seeing each other across the table in the playoffs. They would much rather, an Eastern team would rather face a Western team and vice versa. But you always get that one league matchup that, throw out the records and the history because they know each other so well.
And the craziest thing, I think, is the Saturday-Sunday turnaround. Like, they'll play that semifinal on a Saturday afternoon and then have the championship the next day. Right. It's like a battle of attrition at that. Like, who's staying healthy, whose players are in the right frame of mind after a taxing, and you could get on a bus, maybe take a long trip on Sunday for a championship. Mm-hmm. Last year was at Choate, so that was for Milton. That was a decent haul for them. Taft was probably a little bit closer. So I do think where you're playing does factor into that. What your commute's like on that day, what your travel plan is like that day.
You don't know the sites aren't out yet.
I haven't seen. Have you seen them, Mike? Have they announced?
No,
that?
I typically don't get word until as we get closer to the tournament. But they bounce them around. I know. I've been to Brooks. Been to for girls. Been to Westminster.
Right.
Been to Deerfield. Last year was at the FC Stars complex in
Lancaster,
which threw me for a loop because there's actually 2 different soccer complexes there, and I was at the wrong one first.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
But hey, tip to young sports writers: allow extra time.
Always
pays
off.
So,
all right. Before we wrap up, anything else come to mind? Like, what are you both looking forward to the most this season? Like, are there any storylines or things that pop into your head about what you're excited for or wanting to look forward to this upcoming fall season?
Yeah, I think you teased it earlier, and I think one of the exciting, attractive things about covering this beat is seeing a team emerge that maybe isn't on our radar at the start of the season. That we have not given a lot of talk to on this podcast or a lot of mentions on soccerjournal.com, but they suddenly beat a big team, they string together some wins, and all of a sudden they're on the radar, and we're reaching out to coaches and players to get a little insight.
I think just the depth, like we've talked about, the depth of prep soccer in New England. I mean, I didn't mention kind of some of our other, like Choate, Worcester Academy. I mean, Avon Old Farm, some powerhouse programs that are in our preseason top 10 that wouldn't surprise me if any of them are there on Championship Sunday. I wouldn't be. I mean, if I had to predict right now, I think Taft and Berkshire are best suited to get to that Championship Sunday. But I wouldn't be shocked if anyone in our preseason top 10 or anyone on the who just outside of it, maybe 11th or 12th, they get there. I mean, there's, you talk to like Deerfield Academy, their head coach is expecting big, like they're watch out for us. We might make, we could, like, there's a lot of optimism when you come into the season, and like you might not be thinking about that program, but next thing you know, oh wow, they did have a great season. So there's players all over the place. The club scene in New England is, it's massive. There's players everywhere. So these players are playing at different schools. I mean, there's a lot of talent out there. And I think that's what's most exciting. And I would just urge everyone to go to our website, soccerjournal.com. We've had a ton of preseason content already. We'll continue to fill it up during the season. But it's kind of the primers to get everyone ready for this season.
Love it. Don't ever not call yourself experts again, because I'm sitting here in the middle of you too. I learned a lot. I feel like I'm ready for the season, and I know the teams, I know the players, I know what to expect. So good work, guys.
Awesome.
Do you want to do some extra time?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Oh, did you want to do some extra time?
I thought so.
Usually it's like, here's producer Dave with extra time.
Doherty's understated.
I'm a new host.
He's understated.
I'm a new host. I'm still learning the ropes.
So let's move to extra time.
Let's go. Extra time is where I lob. This is producer Dave. They failed to introduce me once again.
Doherty.
Producer Dave will run extra time now.
Wow. I'm bowled over by the energy. Thank you, Doherty. I appreciate it. All right, here we go. 3 questions for our panel here. From the wild and wacky to the not quite as wild and wacky. Let's see. We'll start with Mike Z on the right here. If you had to pick an athlete outside of the sport of soccer to join your soccer team, a pro athlete, who would it be?
Ooh, that's an easy one.
Okay.
Wow.
Carlos Alcaraz, tennis star.
Wow.
You see him in the locker room. He's juggling those tennis balls, 10, 12, 14, 16 times. Yeah, that's the guy I want. He's got some serious skills.
I like that. That's a good answer.
I wonder if he's played soccer. Or do you know? I
He's
don't
from
know.
Spain. I'm thinking, yeah.
Of course, he's from Spain.
He's a
You
great
like his new
athlete.
haircut?
What? No, I don't.
Okay, yeah. Well, it was a mistake,
Reminds me
apparently.
too much of mine.
Mike was ready for that question.
It'll grow back. I know. Very good.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah, the tip sheet comes in handy, for extra time. I love it.
yeah, Mike bribed me before the show. I gave him the questions ahead of time.
Enjoy your coffee.
Doherty, your thoughts. Anyone come to mind?
Give me a
Okay.
second. No. I'm thinking an MLB outfielder, like someone like a dynamic athlete, like Ceddanne Rafaela. I feel like would be fun to play soccer with. He's fast. He's quick. He's good on his feet. I feel like you could. I would send some nice through balls to him up top. I want like a shifty, quick player to play with. I feel like that would be fun. So Rafaela comes to mind as just like a fun, springy athlete that I feel like would have great movements on the soccer field.
Plus, his name sounds like he could be a soccer
And
player.
yeah, I'm sure he
just
grew
go
up
by
playing soccer.
Rafaela. Okay. Good answer. Matt Langone, you've had time to think about it.
I kind of have my answer right off the bat. I'm going with Joel Embiid, basketball player. First of all, he's 7'1". He
can't move.
But he's an avid soccer fan. Grew up in Cameroon, played soccer. He actually, people don't realize, he came to basketball super late in life. He was a soccer player. He didn't come to basketball until Kansas found out about him. It was like, you could probably be a pretty good basketball player. You're 7'1", 270 pounds. But I've actually seen him back when I was covering basketball, I've seen him juggling on the court.
Okay.
He's got outstanding touch, but I would just love to see a 7'1", 280-pound guy on the soccer
He'd be a
field.
good
It's
center back.
just winning balls in the air and that. So I'd go with Joel Embiid.
You've watched a lot of soccer, and both of you guys.
It's
at
too
the
slow.
pro level, what's the tallest player out there that you've seen?
I know.
That's a great. I mean,
I think back to
6'5".
Peter Crouch.
Yeah.
But
Holland's like
don't see a
6'4",
ton of
6'.
tall
Yeah, there's not.
Holland,
yeah.
yes.
I mean. Yeah, I don't recall anybody really being
Not 7'1".
No,
Listen, I love Embiid, but that lateral quickness just is not quick
He'd be
enough.
an injury liability, but we'd have to trust that process with him.
I like
So,
Alcaraz. Alcaraz was a great answer.
It was a
Mike.
great
That
answer.
was-
Set the bar too high.
Does he play today?
yeah.
I think he does.
1
yeah.
o'clock.
All right, cool. Let's wrap this up.
All right. All right. Question number 2. Doherty, you can begin with this one.
Great.
No, Langone. Sorry. Okay. Jeez, too many Matts in that for some reason. Okay. So we'll go back around the bend with Matt Langone. First, if you're starting a soccer team and you have a choice of a superior striker or a superior goaltender, which do you take and why?
Oh man, that's a great question. I think I'm going to take the striker, just because. Sometimes I don't know. Sometimes, as great of a goalkeeper as you are, a well-placed shot you're not getting to. I mean, if someone buries one in the upper corner or lower corner, I mean, there's only so much you can do. And great goalkeepers are great, and their positioning's phenomenal, their distribution's phenomenal, they're leaders. But I would always take the goal scorer just because I just love goal scorers, and I want soccer to have more goals, and having that weapon, somebody who's just a bona fide finisher and can you can almost pencil him in for a goal or two. I'm going with that guy.
Easy striker. Easy decision
Really?
on my end. Yeah. I think, obviously a good goalie. I think a good goalie is a luxury. The defense matters more. Having a good defense is more important than having a good goalie. So you can have the greatest goalie in the world, but if your defense is giving up, 1v1 opportunities, then, the impact's going to be minimized a little bit. So I know I would take a good striker first.
Yeah, I'll make it unanimous. I mean, you're just at the top levels of the game. Look at the contracts that are going out offered to the top strikers versus the very top goalies. It's not in the same ballpark.
Right. I mean, Matt Turner's back with the Revolution right now. You may look like a phenomenal goalkeeper because you saved a couple PKs.
He's a great goalie.
He is. But he is. No, it's nothing. But I feel like those answers were funny as they went because I feel like I was trying to be very diplomatic with the keepers, and then Doherty's just like, no, striker, and then Mike was like, striker. It got more emphatic as we went on.
You have to have goalies on in the future on the show, so you might want to think about
that. That's right.
I love goalies.
Me too.
Okay, we all love goalies.
It's a luxury.
Right, you said that. All right, third question. Mike Z, you can start with this one. Pretty simple. What's the best or most memorable soccer stadium you have ever traveled to, witnessed a game at?
Oh, boy. First thing I'm going to preface by saying I don't get out much. life of an editor.
If you're totally stuck, you can go with which one would you like to visit. We'll give you an option.
My youngest was younger. He put on his Christmas list a couple times these Stadiums of Europe puzzles.
Nice.
So obviously we start with the Emirates because we're Arsenal fans, but I can't remember the name of it, but it looked really cool in puzzle form. It's the one in Milan. In Milan, where both of those huge clubs play. They share it. Yeah, anyone remember
I don't know the name. I don't know the proper name, but I know what you're talking about.
San Siro Stadium?
That is it.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, I knew that off the top of my head.
Yeah, we got married there. Yeah. No, I'd like to visit there.
All right. Good answer. San Siro Stadium.
That looks cool.
Matt Doherty?
It'd be so I haven't been to a Premier League game, but it would definitely be one of the Premier League stadiums, maybe Liverpool or Arsenal, like you mentioned, or Chelsea. One of those stadiums.
Mm-hmm.
Give a little shout out to MLS. The Seattle Sounders.
I was going to say that stadium has always looked
Portland
awesome.
Timbers. Sorry, Portland Timbers, and Seattle Sound. I think that West Coast nighttime vibe is pretty sick. But both of those in the MLS, I would go to, and the new Rev Stadium in Somerville. That's going to be awesome too.
It will be. How many of the MLS I don't know that actually. No, I was just curious. Are there soccer-only stadiums in MLS?
Yeah, a lot of them have built. Columbus built one. There's a lot. There's the Revolution are kind of behind the game with that, but obviously they're working on that, so they're trying to get their own stadium.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it just creates better when you can
intimate atmosphere.
Yeah, 25,000 people is a little bit better. Like Mike, I haven't gotten out much to venues in person, so I don't know. I was gonna say Seattle and Portland because those just look cool on TV.
Awesome.
And they're here in the States and they're actually probably more doable for me to get to than a European site at the time being, and dragging the whole family to Europe. Especially my wife, who probably doesn't care to go see it.
Come on, you get it.
I can take the kids. I don't know if my wife.
Just one more.
Yeah, just
dream
one
big. And none of you said Wembley.
Wembley is great.
Wembley
I always figures like an all-encompassing stadium.
Well, it is, but it's
too big.
historic.
I associate it more with American football. You know, did you see the game? Once a year growing up.
Right.
Well, they had Live Aid there too.
That's true.
And I believe they've had World Cups.
Yeah.
Have they not had World
Isn't
Cups?
that the famous Freddie Mercury?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, then. You guys did mediocre today. No, you guys did fantastic. Well done.
That wasn't our best.
In overtime.
We've done better.
We got the Alcaraz match coming up. We're focused on that.
Distracted.
That's right. Back to you guys to wrap things up.
Thank you, Mike and Matt. This was awesome. I'm excited for the season. Hope you guys are too. And follow along. They're going to have great coverage all season long on Boys and Girls Knapsack. So thanks again, guys, for discussing this upcoming season.
Excellent. Looking forward to it.
Enjoyed it.
The New England Soccer Journal's The Goal Podcast is produced by David Yaz and is a Siemens Media production.
You've been listening to New England Soccer Journal's The Goal Podcast. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to our podcast. Or visit anysoccerjournal.com/podcast. Siemens Media. Inspiring, informative, insightful.